I will call a special meeting of the Board of Aldermen to order at 7 o'clock in the Aldermanic Chamber. The prayer will be offered by City Clerk Patricia Pietzu, and Alderman Laws will lead us in the pledge to the flag.
Almighty God, we have the high honor and serious duty to manage the affairs of our beloved city. Fill us, O God, with a spirit of unity and understanding, which enables us to face our multiple problems with a serene mind, with justice and charity for all, so that any and all decisions made by us will always be for the betterment and greater happiness of all our fellow citizens. So help us, God. Amen. To the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Will the clerk please call the roll?
Alderman Wilshire. Here. Alderman Gidge.
Here.
Alderman Harriet Gathright.
Here.
Alderman Dowd. Alderman Clee.
Here.
Alderman Laws.
Here.
Alderman Lopez.
Here.
Alderman Karen.
Here.
Alderwoman Shoshana Kelly.
Here.
Alderman Jetty.
Here.
Alderwoman Milizi Gola. Alderman Tenza.
Here.
Alderman Schmidt.
Here.
Alderman O'Brien.
Present.
Alderman McCarthy.
Present.
We have 13 members present.
Alderman Dowd and Alderwoman Milizigolia have other commitments at the moment, but will be along presently. Communications? Alderman Wilshire.
Okay, I move that all communications be read by title only.
Motion is that communications be read by title only. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? And that motion carries.
Communication from Brian S. McCarthy relative to a special Board of Aldermen meeting.
Alderwoman Wilshire.
Move to accept and place on file.
Motion is to accept and place on file. Discussion. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That motion carries. This evening we have a presentation from the Nashua Housing Authority. If you people would like to come up, there's 2 seats there, and someone can use the mayor's seat.
That's all you.
A vacant seat for one here temporarily.
Hey, how you doing?
I don't mind.
I'll stand with Jim here, that's fine.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. How are you? Yeah, right. Thank you. I'm Lynn Lombardi. I'm the Executive Director at the Nashua Housing Authority. Thank you for having us all tonight. Over here to my left is Mr. Eric Wilson, and he is our chairperson of my Board of Commissioners. And then Mr. James Tollner, who is also a commissioner on my board. We wanted to come here tonight first to meet all of you. I know that there's been a big turnover, and we've never had the pleasure of sitting here in front of you. And what we've done is put together a brief synopsis of what we do at the Nashua Housing Authority, how we operate. We are 100% federally funded. We operate both public housing and Section 8. As far as public housing goes, we own and operate and manage 662 units of public housing throughout the city of Nashua. A lot of the developments, many of you may not even be aware of. The ones that you are aware of are the ones that typically show up in the newspaper. We do a good job in the city of Nashua. We house those of the lowest income, families, elderly, non-elderly disabled. We also run a Section 8 program. Our Section 8 program consists of over 800 Section 8 housing choice vouchers. With that program, we also do project-based voucher programming through, we have 11 project-based vouchers over at Cotton Mill. And then we also administer 31 project-based vouchers through Southern New Hampshire Services over at Salmon Brook. Aside from that, we also tinker a little, a small development called Nashua Parkview Apartments LLC, and that is low-income housing tax credit and home funds. So we've partnered with the city before. A nice piece of information to share with all of you is that through our federal funding, the Nashua Housing Authority pays annually to local landlords $7 million to house our families. It's a big program. It costs a lot of money. There's that many in need. And quite interesting in this is just our waiting list statistics. Right now, our Section 8 program, we are looking at approximately a 7+ year wait just to obtain a Section 8 voucher to get housing. We do the very best we can. We certainly approach HUD on an annual basis to see if we can obtain more housing choice vouchers so that we can assist more families in need. Our public housing program, we have well over 2,000 people on our public housing waiting list. And depending on the bedroom size, families can wait as short as 1 year for an elderly or non-elderly disabled unit. And our largest need is for 2-bedroom family housing. And that bedroom size right there, you're looking at easily a 5+ year wait. The need is there. You know, we're doing the very best, as I said, that we can. We're looking to expand. We're looking to potentially, through our nonprofit that hasn't quite come to fruition yet, but we're working on it, the National Affordable Housing Corporation. We are looking to tap into alternate resources. We no longer want to be 100% federally funded. It's just not how we want to operate any longer. We want to look at other resources that may be out there and provide additional affordable alternative housing, safe, affordable, decent housing for families in need. I don't know if you would have more to add to that.
That Alderman Wilshire and Alderman Lopez,
Yes.
for years now, have attended our meetings the third Friday of the month at the Housing Authority on East Pearl Street. It's a public meeting. Anyone is welcome to attend. The authorities are great. I've been on the authority almost, sure you can hear me. I've been on the authority with Jim Tolner close to 18 years. Close to 18 years now. But it's a great opportunity to serve the city. As a former, 2 of us are former aldermen. So we were in this chamber years ago, as we were just talking to Alderman Tenza about when he was in 7th grade. But it's a great opportunity for us to serve the city, to assist people, and you're more than welcome to attend any of our meetings. And if you have any questions, or if you have any constituents that are in public housing, either Section 8 or public housing, elderly housing, and you have concerns, don't hesitate to contact any of us, Lynn or any of us. And if you have any questions, please feel free to ask us. So.
Yeah, the only thing we wanted to include here is some photos of some of the buildings. So you may not even realize that some of these locations are Nashua Housing Authority properties. As Lynn mentioned, like $7 million we spend that go to Section 8 housing. So they're pretty well spread all over the city. But as you can see, some of these buildings, you're probably familiar with. But for instance, Sullivan Terrace, we spend a lot of money in making sure that they have upgrades, the elevators. We just had a huge project, last year, where we put new elevators in. So the makeup of the Housing Authority Board, it's Eric, myself, Tom Monahan, Mary Ellen, and we do have a representative that lives in the Housing Authority, Paul DeShanes, who is our board member. So there's 5 of us, and as Eric said, we meet every Friday, third Friday, I should say, in the month, and we do appreciate the support of the city and the Board of Aldermen. And the last thing is, on behalf of the commissioners, I just want to recognize Lynn and her staff. her staff is listed here on the last page. And HUD actually gave us our score for last year, and I'm happy to report that we got 100%, which is great. It's very difficult. The standards and the criteria that they use, there's some simple things that you wouldn't even think of if they go for a review, and there's something out of, maybe there's a plug that's hanging out of the wall, we get graded against that. So the 100%, Lynn, I know I mentioned it early this morning in an email, but you're doing a great job over there, and I want to congratulate everybody at the Housing Authority.
We can only get better.
That's right.
Lynn, you may want to mention the pilot, what we're working now with the
Right.
state.
Oh, yeah, we are. I'm actually going to be meeting with Tim Cummings regarding the pilot that the Nashua Housing Authority pays to the city of Nashua, which is the payment in lieu of taxes. And right now, we were just approved to add our 40 East Pearl Street office to that portfolio, which will be included in the pilot. Because it's going to, prior to, it was about 2 years ago, we were leasing the upstairs of that building, but we've grown large enough now where we can occupy that entire building. And so we are going to be meeting with Mr. Cummings to discuss that further. So.
So we appreciate the opportunity to appear, to put a face
Yeah.
with the authority's name, and we know several aldermen, but feel free to contact us with any questions that your constituents have, and, yes, sir?
Oh, no.
Oh, thought you had a question.
Microphone.
Any
You can't
questions?
hear me, I had a booming voice, I thought.
Oh, you're gonna hold the mic. They
I don't
can't hear
have
you on
it.
TV.
Tolan took it.
If you stand close, you can use mine.
So if you have any questions, we'd be more than happy to answer them now, or if you want to send us an email.
I have one. Parkview. As I recall, that property was developed by Greater Nashua Housing Services back in about the time when we were all on the board.
Right.
How does that come to be part of the Housing Authority at this point?
We actually had originally partnered with Bridget over at Neighborhood Housing Services. And at the time, I was with the Housing Authority then too. We only had like 1% interest in the property. And when Bridget's group dissolved, we took ownership. And that's how that came about.
Any other questions? Alderman Lopez.
I noticed it in your estimates for the waiting list, it says 1,119 families are waiting. Do you have an idea of how many children are in those families, or what type of apartments would be ideal for them? Are we talking like single parent, single child, or 3 children, 1 parent, 2 parent, 5 children?
In most circumstances, Alderman Lopez, what we see is the greatest need for families is a 2-bedroom. So that is typically either a single parent with 1 or 2 children. That's our greatest need right now. But most of the families, if not all of the families on our waiting list, do have children unless they are elderly or non-elderly disabled.
I just figured I'd ask in case any developers are listening.
Thank you.
Alderman Tenza.
Once you have the nonprofit up and running, what are you hoping to do with that? Is that is it for more housing? Are you hoping to use it to improve the housing you have? Or hoping for more flexibility with those funds?
I think right now, I mean, we are truly in just the startup of discussing those types of things, but we do know that there's a need. I mean, that we've identified that need. All you have to do is take a glimpse at our waiting lists, and the need is so great. And what we'd like to do is to provide more affordable housing, more choice to people who are of low income and need it. And so, as far as upgrading our current portfolio, we receive annually from the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development Capital Fund Program grants. Mr. Tollner had discussed some of the elevator upgrades that we did last year. We spent over $1 million just upgrading all of our elevators throughout our portfolio. I don't know if you've noticed in some of the other developments, we've replaced windows. We've done all the roofs. We are on a 20-year, I will be retired by the time we need new roofs. So we're really, we are always actively updating our developments, keeping the building envelopes healthy, because if you have a leaky roof, you know, it's not going to benefit anyone. So we typically will spend all of our capital fund monies on just the upgrades needed annually.
And to follow up that question, Alderman Tenza, the separate nonprofit that we have, we've been meeting with other housing authority in the state and trying to learn new ways that we won't necessarily be tied to the federal HUD funds. So our nonprofit organization, we would be able to buy independent properties, blighted properties or properties that need to be completely rehabbed or torn down and replaced. And that's something we can do that we won't be tied necessarily to HUD funds and HUD requirements. We could purchase a particular property, develop it, and then through that our independent nonprofit, act similar to the way we act now, but just not necessarily with the strings to HUD.
Any other questions? Alderman Karen.
I just have a comment, because quite a few of these buildings are under Ward 7, and some of the issues that have come up over the years, your staff has been very helpful in giving us the way to follow and what they need to do and what the tenant needs to do to resolve issues that come up. So I commend you and your staff for being there and working very diligently with the tenant and with us as well, because when we get those emails, we really have to figure out where to go with, to help them out. So I think you and your staff do a very good job.
I'll share.
And I thank you.
very much.
Yes, please do.
Alderwoman Wilshire.
Thank you. I have a long history with the Housing Authority. I don't know if I should start at the beginning, but I have a long history with the Housing Authority as a tenant, as an employee, as a commissioner, and now as a liaison. And I'll tell you, they do tremendous work in this community. I can't say enough good about Lynn and her staff and a very supportive board. So thank you all for that. You do great work here.
Thank you. And we thank you for the opportunity to appear before you again to put a face with the authority name. Any questions, please don't hesitate to contact us.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Nice to see you.
Is there a motion?
Move to
Alderwoman
adjourn.
Wilshire. Motion is to adjourn. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? And we are adjourned at 7:20.